Hi everyone. So today we are going to continue the lesson getting to know about plants. So today we are going to cover flower parts and its reproductive organs. So we have already discussed about roots. I hope you people remember. Let's discuss about other important part of a plant, flower. Flower makes the part look beautiful and it also plays a very crucial role in the life cycle of plants. You'd have seen lot of flowers in different shapes, colors and in fragrance too. But how can you define a flower? What it is? Otherwise we can simply say what is a flower? Flower is a reproductive organ of a plant, which means plants are able to reproduce with the help of flowers. First of all, we should know what is reproduction. Reproduction in generally we will classify with the help of living things and non-living things. We use it the term reproduction. Reproduction means giving birth to young ones. Not only human beings and animals, plants also reproduce. For reproduction, reproductive organ is very essential. So the reproductive organ of a plant is nothing but the flower. And it is also called modified shoot. See, why reproduction has to take place? Why does reproduction take place? To retain the species. If reproduction doesn't happen, what will happen, ma? The entire species will get lost. If plants do not reproduce, we will have low plant in earth. That's why reproduction is needed. In sexual reproductive organs in plants is nothing but the flowers. Okay. And as I said, flower is nothing but modified shoot. So, a part of a shoot, flower is a part of a shoot which gets modified to form a reproductive organ and perform function of the reproductive organ. So now we are going to discuss about the flower parts, otherwise the structure of a flower. On the screen, what you are seeing is a generalized picture of a flower. Even though flowers are in different shapes, size and color, more or less the parts are all same for flowers. Look at the flower. The most prominent thing that you have seen in a flower is colored structure, isn't it? So the colored structure, that is the orange color flower is there. In this picture, orange flower is given. So that color is nothing but the part of a petals. They are called what? Petals. Below the petals, can you able to see the green color leaf-like structure? That is called sepals. Sepals are leaf-like structure which are present outside the petals. So if you have ever observed when there is a bud in a tree, during bud condition we can't able to see the petals, that is the color of the flower and all, you can't able to see because the sepals are covered by the sepals covers the petals. Okay, we cannot see the petals because the petals are hidden inside, that is they are covered by the sepals. When the bud turn into a flower, what happens? They are seen outside the petals. Okay, the next part what we are going to discuss about is stalk. Stalk is a broad like structure which holds the flower, that is the stem part we can see. They are actually helps in the process of reproduction. They are actually helps in the process of reproduction. So hence flower is the reproductive organ of a plant. The part which you can see at the center, the swollen part, the green color, the center part was given no. That is one along with that swollen part you are having able to see the tube-like structure. The entire structure is called as pistil. Otherwise we can say that is carpel or pistil. So we used to say by two names by which this is the female reproductive organ in flower. Similarly, you can also see the small hair like in sides and all can be able to see small tube hair like thin structures. And top you are able to see some brown heads and all. They are nothing but the male reproductive organ of a flower, and that is called a stamen. So as I told before, reproduction is very much important in plants also. For reproduction, we need reproductive organ. We need both male and female reproductive organ. Because male reproductive organ produce male gametes, female reproductive organ produce female gametes. Gametes means nothing but sex cells. Sex cells means what? Whether to classify whether it is a male or female. We used to say boy or girl, isn't it? So for this classification, when the male gamete fuse with the female gamete, a new plant will produce. Okay, so reproduction is nothing but the fusion of male gamete and female gamete. If the both gametes fuse together, what is the result? A new plant will be able to produce. Okay, now we are going to see the structure in somewhat detail. The first one is called stalk. The first one is what? Stalk. Stalk is nothing but the stem part of the flower. What is the main role? It holds the flower. It holds the flower. Next one is petals. Petals, as I told, the colored part of a flower. In this picture, it was given somewhat pinkish red. Okay, those pinkish red are called as petals. So they are called colored parts of a flower. Because of its variety of color, it can able to attract the insects. How are insects beneficial for a flower? Why the flower has to attract the insects? Because insects help in the process of pollination. Insects help in the process of pollination. Pollination is nothing but reproduction. What do you mean by reproduction? The fusion of male gamete and female gamete. What is the result of this reproduction? A new plant will come out. Okay, so reproduction in otherwise in plants we can say pollination. The next thing what we are going to see is sepals. Sepals means nothing but the region, the leaf like structure which is present below the surface of the petal is called sepals. It ensures the protection of petals. It ensures the protection of petals. As I said, flower is a bud, isn't it? Petals are not seen much during when the flower when it was in bud condition. The petals we can't able to see the petals. Okay, the sepals covered them. Like how a mother gives enough protection to a child until the baby comes adult, isn't it? Likewise, the bud needs protection. That protection is given by the sepals. As the bud grows into a flower, the sepals are set aside and the flower is taken care by its own. The next part what we are going to discuss is stamens. Stamens is a male reproductive organ. I told for reproduction we need male reproductive organ and female reproductive organ. Male reproductive organ, what it will do? That will produce male gametes. Organs only going to produce gametes. Which organ? Male reproductive organ. So the male reproductive organ in the flower is nothing but stamen. Okay, and that produce gametes, that is called pollen grains, male gamete. So the male gamete of the flower is nothing but pollen grains. And carpel, otherwise called pistil, it is a female reproductive organ. So what the female reproductive organ will do? That will produce female gametes, that is called as ovum or egg. when the male gamete and female gamete fuse together, the new plant will arise. So what is the male gamete? Pollen grain. When the pollen grain comes in contact with the female gamete, that is egg, otherwise we can say ovum, what? A new plant will come out. So during reproduction, fusion is very much important. The fusion together, they fuse together to form a new plant. Let us see the structure of the stamen and carpel in little more detail. Okay, first we take the stamen. We start with stamen. As I have mentioned before, the part is the male reproductive organ is nothing but the stamen. Okay, okay, and stamen is also have some different, so many different parts. Can you able to see the stamen, the structure of anther? Here it is. The picture was given. Okay, you can see a long tube-like structure on top. You are able to see some bulb-like structure, isn't it? The long tube-like structure is called as filament. A long tube-like structure of the stamen is called as filament. What is the function? Stalk that bears the anther. See, on top, the bulb yellow color was given. No, that is anther. That was held by this filament. That is the main thing. Okay. What is the anther? Anther is means what, ma? The top portion, you are seeing the bulb. No, that is anther. It is a swollen structure. It is a swollen structure which is present at the top of the stamen. The thin anther is a bilobed structure. What do you mean by bilobed? Bi means two. So in picture itself you can able to see two lobes are given, isn't it? So anther is not a single one. It is a bilobed structure. So how many? Bi means two. So two lobes will be present. Each lobe has two pollen sacs. So here two lobes are there, and each lobe is again divided into two packets, that is two compartments, and two compartments, that is one lobe is divided into two, another one lobe is divided into two, isn't it? So they are called pollen sacs, and each sac, so now totally how many? 4 pollen sacs are there. Can you able to understand? Anther is a bilobed structure. Bi means two lobes are there, and each lobe is divided, each lobe contains two sacs. So totally how many sacs? 4 sacs are there. And the pollen grains, as I told, male reproductive organ is going to produce male gamete called pollen grain, isn't it? Stamen is the male reproductive organ. In stamen also we are having filament, anther and connective, 3 region. So which region is going to produce this male gamete? Anther only. So inside the sac you can able to, in sacs are producing the pollen grains. So how many totally? How many sacs? 4 sacs. So the 4 sacs are responsible for the pollen grains. Pollen grains are nothing but the male gametes. What do you mean by gametes? Sex cells. So anther is responsible for this gamete production. Next one is connective. Connective is nothing but, so as I told, a bilobed structure. Anther is a bilobed. So both two lobes are connected with by this connective. Two lobes are joined together with the help of this connective. So part attached to the back of anther. Back means what? The back portion. It is the front view. If you see the back view, here you can see the pollen grains are found, no, some dots were given. The remaining yellow parts are there, no, that is nothing but the connective. Okay, so stamen is a male reproductive organ, and it contains 3 parts. What are the 3 parts? Filament, anther, connective. Filament is just to hold the anther. Okay, anther is a bilobed structure. Each lobe has 2 pollen sacs. So totally 4 sacs. Sacs are responsible for the production of male gamete called pollen grains. So I hope somewhat. And what do you mean by connective? The lobes are joined together with the help of this connective. That's it. Next, now we are going to see about the female reproductive organ. What is the female reproductive organ? Carpel, otherwise called pistil. So here a flower picture. The center, the thick green was given. No, that is the carpel. The whole thing is called what? carpel. Okay, here inside only the structure of carpel was given. Now let us look at the structure of carpel. This is also have prominently three parts. Male reproductive organs, that is stamen is also divided into three parts. Like that, female reproductive organ is also divided into three parts. The first one is stigma, second one is style, and third one is ovule. What are the three prominent parts, ma? Stigma, style, ovule. So stigma, style, ovule. Okay. So the style is what, ma? It's a tube-like structure. Can you able to see? Style is a tube-like structure which connects the stigma and the ovule. Okay. The ovule is somewhat oval shaped, somewhat bulged. While comparing to style and stigma, the ovule is somewhat bulged structure and it is oval shaped thing. That is called ovary wall. That is called what? Ovary wall. The topmost region is called the stigma. So the carpel is divided into three portions: ovule, style, stigma. Ovule is the lowermost portion which is somewhat bulged oval shape. Inside what it is having? Ovary. Style is the region which connects the stigma and ovule, and stigma is the topmost region which is present on them, which can able to see easily in a plant. Okay. Basically, stigma is the region that receives the pollen grains. I told you that the fusion has to take place for reproduction. Fortunately, plants having both male and female organs in a same thing, in a same place, isn't it? Both female reproductive organ and male reproductive organ both are present in a flower. Male reproductive organ is responsible for the production of pollen grains. The grain has to fuse with the female gamete called ovary or egg. Okay, so how does that happen? The pollen grains will enter into the female reproductive organ. The female reproductive organs contain three regions: stigma, style, ovule. Okay, so stigma, basically stigma is that region which receives the pollen grains. Stigma is the region because it is the topmost region which we can able to find. So with once the pollen grains, what it will do, it will come and reach the stigma. That is the region which receives the pollen grain. Once it receives, what happens? The fusion has to take, because the pollen grains will enter the female structure of the carpel and it leads and it enters into the ovary. There, what you having egg is there, so it fuses with the female gamete. Okay, and one interesting thing is that pollen grains can move, but the egg cannot move. You can ask, pollen grains are moving and the stigma is the place where it receives the pollen grains, but ovum, the egg, cannot move from its place. So only the pollen grain has to enter into the, see, and this is the stigma is the uppermost portion. Once it pollen grain enters the stigma, then along with this tube called style, it reaches the ovule. Inside the ovule, what we are having? Ovum. Okay, so there it meets the ovum. Once the pollen grains and the ovum fuse together, what happened? Yes, reproduction takes place, so the new plant will come out. Okay, so now let us discuss the distinct part of the carpel, or otherwise called pistil. So as I said, ovary is the basal enclosed part of carpel. Basal means what? Bottom. Basal means what? Bottom. If you look at the entire carpel picture, it was given on the side now. The bottom part is quite swollen, isn't it? So swollen structure, and it's somewhat spherical part of structure. This portion is called ovary. This is called what? Ovary. It encloses, this ovary encloses. Within the ovary, what it is having? Ovule is there. Ovule is nothing but the female gamete. Female gamete means what? Gamete means sex cell. So female sex cell. Okay. As I have mentioned before, for the reproduction to take place, we expect the female sex cell has to fuse with the male sex cell. But unfortunately, female gamete, that is ovule, cannot move from its place. So only the male gamete has to get inside of the structure. Then only the fusion take place. Okay. So ovary is a basal portion. It is present at the basal portion, bottom portion. The next one is style. Style is a tube-like structure which connects the ovary and the stigma. What do you mean by stigma? Stigma. Anyone look out of flower, it is we are able to see this part. We are able to see only this part, isn't it? But ovary part we cannot see distinctly outside. So it is exposed end of style. It is located at the exposed end of style. So what it does? Acts as a receptive surface for pollen grains. What is the main function of stigma? It acts as the receptive surface. That is, it can able to receive the pollen grains. Pollen grains are the male gametes. Okay. So once the pollen grains come and stick with the stigma, along with this tail, it moves towards down and it reaches the ovary. Inside the ovary, what we are having? Ovules. So this ovule is a female gamete. So male gamete pollen grain fused together. What happens? The new plant will come arise. Okay, come out. So finally it reaches the ovary. That's why it comes and contact with the ovule, because ovule is present inside the ovary. This is the process of reproduction takes place in a flower. So flower is called the reproductive part of the plant. Okay. The remaining thing I'll continue in next class. Go through the video one more time. You can't able to understand by seeing once it itself. Just 2 or 3 times you just try to watch the video. Try to understand the concept. If you have any doubt, you can contact me. Okay, thank you.